What's going on, everybody? LK here, back with another very unfair tax. This time with Street Fighter Lord Brian F himself. How you doing, bro?
Hey man, I'm doing good. Thanks for bestowing upon me also the Lord title. I appreciate that.
100%. So I think today you got some unfair Street Fighter attacks. I dug into the anime vault.
Sure. I feel like I had to qualify it, right? I'm doing Street Fighter, and I'm focusing on Street Fighter 5 for this one. So modern Street Fighter game. You might outdo me with the unfairness. So I'm gonna try to cook up something here. And I went back in the vaults a little bit to find at least one really unfair example where the devs knew they messed up. So I do have a little bit of sauce in there. But yeah, Street Fighter, generally, it's kind of like a pretty well-rounded game. So like what's unfair, I think might be relatively tame to the anime audience. But I'll do my best to sell the cheapness.
Let me see it.
I don't know if this is cheating or not, but we're doing the Tengu Stones. I got to talk about them. It's what makes Oro tick. I feel like Oro is kind of like a weird, subpar, all-rounder character without this V-trigger. But then when you pop the V-trigger, he summons these stones, and then things get a little funky. So basically, it's an install super, you could think of it. It has this meter, and he has two variations. He has the 5-stone variation when you hold down and activate, and then he has the 3-stone one. The 3-stone one lasts longer compared to the 5-stone, but you get less combo conversions. Because basically, it just sends out these items sort of like in a delayed fashion, forming this sort of like wave pattern, right? So like one item goes first, the second one goes after, and the third one so forth. And that kind of disjointed rhythm allows you to get conversions from random things, right? It lets you extend your combos because you get a lot more hit stun. And then the 5-1, it just kind of uses up your timer faster because you have more items. This turns Oro into the highest damage output character in the game by far, in a game where they kind of kept nerfing the damage over the seasons. And the main thing about it is it's both like big brain and small brain, because you could be like, you can just grab this character and just start smacking the controller. Like, you don't have to think. Like, if you actually get like a random hit, like I'm just hitting buttons. Like, that wasn't a combo. Like, I was actually just mashing there. So that can happen with this character, right? So if you're kind of playing with your friends and you don't know what to do, you just, towards medium is like the classic. Like, you can do significant damage just mashing. And I think if like a couple of beginner players got together and you pulled that out, they'd be like, that's cheating. When it really starts adding up is when you actually start knowing the combo routes. It gets worse. So if you get like a raw hit, like the damage just keeps going, and then you can keep piecing it together. And then if you end in a CA, which I'm rusty, you can't do that anymore. Yeah, this just loops.
Ooh. They said this game had no sauce though.
Oro has all the sauce. I mean, that loop is the basic
He
stuff.
took it all.
So, like, the thing is, like, I don't even consider that sauce. It just does stupid damage. Like, but if you get a raw hit with Oro with Tengu Stones active, they're dead. Like, they're just blatantly dead. But he does have super sauce with this if you, like, really master, especially the 3-stone. If you get into the corner, like, he has all these super technical combos. But they're usually there because you didn't get a raw hit. If you activate from a combo, the scaling kicks in really hard. So it doesn't do anywhere near as much damage. But if you really want to maximize these kind of combos, you have to do all these tricks, like these fireball loops here.
Ooh.
That's using a bunch of charge partitioning. We say charge partitioning in Street Fighter 5. It's really charge buffering. He has a back medium kick, a forward medium kick, and a neutral medium kick. And you're trying to do stand medium to fireball, which is a back forward charge move. So you have to press medium kick when you're in neutral, while also passing through your charge move. So like down back, neutral MK, forward fireball. So you have to like really time this. And then when you start adding this move on top of it, so like all of these, I'm doing that pass through charge technique. And then like you get really, really specific loops with that. But that's more for like squeezing that extra 10 damage out of a scaled hit. That's what I like about him, is like you can go really deep to get that extra 10, 15 damage. But like I said, if you have no idea what you're doing, just doing this like super basic, like very easy combo, it does stupid amounts of damage. But what makes it really unfair is like, you're like, okay, don't get hit, right? It's just Street Fighter. There's not really mix. So that's where like the joke comes, respect the stones, and it ties in with the OG Street Fighter 5 meme, take the throw. So classic. Like, but once he's in this mode, how many throws are you gonna take, right? It's like it just keeps going. So without health regen on, you can lose easily 40% just from taking the throw. So you're kind of forced to take action. So he just stops the game, and the moment you try to challenge, it's pretty much GG. But it gets even more ludicrous because there's some specific scenarios that happen. I'm going to show you 2 specific punishes of where it gets like real stupid. Kumba's going to throw a little red fireball.
Ooh. Am I looping with DP?
So,
oh my god, it's actually a lot of damage.
So I started that with an EX move, and I built back the meter during the combo to use super. Oro's a cheater. like you're not supposed to use 4 meters in a combo in Street Fighter V, right? That's the whole point of using the EX system with the CA. But for some reason, if with certain activations, like from the red fireball one, it doesn't matter what items he gets, or from the EX chicken rather, he just does this route and it's just gonna work every time. Like he's just gonna build the bar back.
And just
does absurd damage. And then he has other ones like if you start with different moves, like if you start with EX Chicken in the first place, the scaling is really good. But if they instead they're blocking, and then they make the ultimate mistake of trying to use defensive options. So there's a basketball there. That enables this.
Oh, and that's like RNG?
It's RNG, right. It's RNG. So he has 2 items that build meter, the basketball and the Blanca Chan. So if I get that and you like try to V-reversal this activation and I see it, I can just neutral jump and just murder you.
Into the DP, into the chicken, into another DP.
Right.
Oh my god, so much damage.
Right. So you think you're gonna V-reversal because you're scared of taking, 5 throws, but instead you eat almost 800 damage instead. Yeah, Tengu Stone's kind of unfair. There is counterplay, like those throw loops, for example. All you gotta do is if you can V-reversal that guaranteed, for example. So like the ways he keeps Oki, you can V-reversal to get him off you. But if you have no resources and he activates, you're either taking the throws or you scramble to get out and you just eat 700 damage. Pretty cheap. And with all that, I still have to downplay Oro's still only like a mid-tier character. So
yeah, I was about to say, I thought this character sucked. I heard this character was not good, had a bunch of bad matchups. This move looks pretty cheap. One really interesting thing, because I had Justin on once, and he did a lot of old Capcom games, and like the common thing was just like, oh, you can combo off this. It still reflects in Oro a little bit. It's like you're getting conversions you wouldn't get normally, you're getting punishes no one else can get. I don't want to say it's a theme in all Capcom games, but I'm surprised like how recurring, like the number one thing I've heard from Capcom games is like, oh, you can combo off this, it does a lot of damage, and that's why it's cheap.
Right. I mean, I guess if you're thinking about it from a Street Fighter perspective, like you really have to earn your hits through neutral, and you have very tight confirm windows. And there's not a lot of movement options. Like you're playing that footsie game, right? So like to go from a move that originally all you got was this is a good poke, 70, 100, you can't special cancel, you can't do nothing, right? And then to turn it into this, right?
Yeah.
Suddenly this poke, which meant not much in the grand scheme of things, is literally your death sentence, right? So it quickly changes how the flow of the match works when suddenly any random stray hit turns into your deathbed. Street Fighter, it's a bit more contained overall, right? But then with Street Fighter V, they allow these bursts of like just over-the-top ridiculousness through the V-Trigger system.
I don't know, that was a good start. You said this was going to be kind of dry, but that move was kind of cheap.
It's V-Trigger. I don't know if V-Trigger was cheating or not, but yeah, Oro has the sauce, so that's why I've been playing him so much. Like that V-Trigger is super cheap, but like I didn't show it off here, but there's so much depth to it too, to like when people actually defend against it and don't just panic and get hit, to really squeeze out every like maximum optimization and conversion. There's so much to it. I mean, every move sends the stones in a different direction, so you can get weird hits on the fly and tons of anti-air combos, right? Like jumping at him, you can do crazy juggles. So He has a ton of sauce with that, combined with his really unique kit as well. You think Street Fighter V is only dry? Like Oro was the character to really turn up the sauce. I'm sad it was only like the final year, because I still feel like I have so much more to learn with him after playing him for like over a year now. You know, but Street Fighter 6 is around the corner, so
Around the corner. Yep.
rest in peace, Oro. It was fun while we had you. Wish we had you for longer, but time to move on.
I got a weird one for you, I guess. Equally weird. We were talking about this before we started recording, but there's some versions of BlazBlue that are either impossible, quite literally impossible to get, or they're very hard to find. I am low-key compromising on this because Taokaka, everyone's favorite anime girl 10 years ago, she has it in this game, but it's not the best version of it. It's actually the next version. They decided to make this move extra stupid, but I guess I'll just do the move, and I'm just gonna because it doesn't make. Well, okay, no, I actually shouldn't show hers yet. I'll show what a normal character does in this situation, and then I will show you hers.
I really need some context here, because
Okay.
I've seen brief glimpses of BlazBlue, but I've never actually followed a full match.
So, in many fighting games, it's interesting because we were talking about like Tengu Stones. You're like, oh, you can use V reversal to turn around the situation. It's like a guard cancel, right?
Mm-hmm.
This game also has a guard cancel. So normally when you do a guard cancel, it would look like nothing because I have no meter. So it would look like this. So boom, you just kind of
Gotcha.
just get over there, right? Pretty straightforward. We've seen this in many fighting games. Many fighting games have guard cancels. Most characters in BlazBlue have just an attack that like kind of knocks you away or something. That's normal. That's what normal characters do. But we're not talking about a normal character. We're talking about a cat girl. So instead, this is her guard cancel. Goodbye. I'm out. Peace. Peace. Nice knowing you. Nice knowing you, buddy. So in this version, it's not the broken one though. In CS1, she turns around when she does the guard cancel. So this one is just like, I'm gone. Goodbye.
But she
In CS1, she counterattacks you.
Oh.
You might have to put on your 360p glasses. I have a link to this. That I will share with you. This is very, very bad quality, but you know,
So
I
can
can't
I
do
make a
anything about it.
prediction before you show it? You don't have to tell me if I'm right or not. So you attack her, and based on what you're saying, she punishes you for attacking her into a full combo into your death?
And yes,
Sounds fair. Okay, let's see it.
specifically, it comes up in a moment right around here where our boy Jin just doing a nice little combo, freeze, and he has the nerve to do Oki and immediately, and now also GG.
no.
Yes,
Wait,
You-
why
you
was
had
that? Why was that GG?
she has a taunt combo in this game where the taunt reverses the scaling. Like instead of like negative scaling, it's positive scaling. Does that make sense?
So
So
every hit
she
does
gets to do
more
an
and more
esports combo.
damage.
Yeah, she gets to do an esports combo, which is this. This was not part of it, of what the guard cancel is about, but this is cool. So she gets 11 reps of this, and it does like 60%, which is a ton of damage in BlazBlue. And you just keep on pressing the taunt button, has a nice little rhythm, and just because he had the nerve for doing a meaty, he took like 60%.
I think if there's any Street Fighter players watching this, the only comparison I can make is Season 1 Mika. She used to, she was like above and beyond the most broken character in the game, but her V reversal was also, it gave her Oki. Her whole thing was that she was a 50-50 grappler with like perfect throw loop Oki on top of doing ridiculous damage. When you finally got to play, she would just V reversal you, and then it's the same situation all over again. It's like you might as well have never have hit her in the first place, because the moment you try to, you get put back. She might as well have been on offense the entire time. From this, can you get a guaranteed combo in some situations?
So in some situations, yeah, you get a guaranteed
Oh
combo
my
punish.
God.
Yeah, guaranteed combo
That is
punish.
brutal. Can you bait it though? Like,
Can you?
like how? Yeah, I'm
No.
wondering how does the what is the input, for example? Like if they preemptively go for guard cancel, like is it hard to react to the guard cancel, or is it something that they're never gonna accidentally input when they're not blocking?
So this thing is like instant, basically. Like if I bring up BB again.
Because like V reversal, you could be too late, for example, because the startup is slow.
Yeah, so if you're in any type of block zone, like your absolute best bet to bait this would be to do something like this.
And then what happens if she attempts to guard cancel there?
So she still moves, but at least you recovered, so you're fine. Like you recovered, so you're not dying. Where like if you commit to something big then you're just you can't commit to any big moves. Like I said, this version it's a little bit weaker because she doesn't turn around automatically. In this version, it's just like a free out, like get out of jail
that's
free.
already just
Really
this
good,
alone is already annoying me. Like I'm getting annoyed watching that. But can you like throw her over and over? Like is there like is that
You
the
can
idea?
do your best. You could do your best. I mean, the best way, in my opinion, I would do stuff with low block stun into like slow move because the game has changed, right? So like something like this, for example, would be pretty good because if they're looking for like let's say like a medium or heavy attack that's like easy to react to, so they can get out, then you use lights to kind of discourage them and be like, you can't react to it. And if they're just mashing on it, so if I mistime this, like. So I mistimed it. So
okay,
like,
so you
yeah.
can counter hit it. That's what I was getting at, right? Like, what if you delay your attack and they preemptively did the guard cancel?
Yes.
So it is possible to frame trap it.
Yes, but you have to understand that you're frame trapping an attack and not the guard cancel. So if they were really smart, they would just not do it until you had the nerve to press a medium or heavy attack, and then they would do it.
Right.
So that
at least you can encourage them to actually react and use their brain with it a little bit. But even then, a good player will just react to the move every time, confirm that they blocked it, get out for free, and then So is this character number 1 in the game?
In the version that I showed you with the match, she was the best character. In this game right here that you're looking at, she is one of the worst characters. But also, this game's not good, so I'm keeping it. This game sucks. This game right here
it's hard for me to grasp how a character that when you attack them, they fly full screen away from you. It's hard for me to understand how they're the worst, but I will take that as a, my eyes have yet to be open to the depths of anime hell.
essentially. And for anyone wondering, yes, they nerfed it. They took it out of the game and they gave her a normal ass attack before people ask. What is it like right now? Right now, it's just a normal. It's this. I want to believe is what it is now. After 2 years of get out of jail free, after like this 2 years of that, and it was gone. And now she just does a normal attack now.
I think that's deserved.
That's well deserved. I'm not a Taokaka enjoyer personally.
Oh no, it's art. Just this version, the bad version, the nerf version, that already pissed me off. Like I can already feel the frustration of trying to pin down this character and then have them just fly out of the corner when you attack them. No bueno.
All right, but you got another one for us?
You keep raising expectation. This one, this might be a personal pet peeve. I think a lot of the Street Fighter players will relate to this. I'll do my best to make it clear. All right, so I think any Street Fighter player will probably know where I'm going with this, but I feel like I gotta give a little historical context for it to really add up. So I'm gonna be talking about everyone's favorite mash move, which is 1, 2, 3, the flicker. Ed's flicker. So this move started out much different from how it is right now. Ed, when he first released, was considered to be pretty low tier. I think he was DLC for Season 1, not a release character, but he was in Season 1. But basically, I think this move, when it came out, it's a smash move. It has multiple hits, so he can combo into it from jabs. And, he can kind of harass with it from neutral. Originally, this was -4 on block. So it was something that was kind of designed to be spaced out properly, like maybe, like poke with this move and then kind of buffer it because it has multiple hits and they kind of move forward. But if it was up close, it would be punishable. And then I believe it was -4 at first, and then it was for sure -3 for a while. And the big divide with Street Fighter characters, Street Fighter 5, is that some of them are 3-frame jab characters and some of them have only a 4-frame jab. So for a while, some characters could punish it if you misspaced it up close and some couldn't. But then what they did is they made it -2. So -2 is basically not punishable by anybody except for like Akuma with his Raging Demon or like Zangief with his super, right? The 1-frame command grabs. So suddenly this move is like, oh, just go ham with it, right? Like if you ever want to poke with it, buffer into it, like this is always a safe ender. So you get pretty decent chip damage. I mean, it doesn't seem like that much at first. And you see it moves him forward and it puts him back in neutral. So like you can do a string ending it, poke ending it, you're back here, do other things, and then this keeps adding up and it does some pushback. So it was like, okay, that's kind of annoying, right? And it's also a mash move, so people would be doing stuff like this and mashing into it, and it lunges him forward. It went from being annoying, because it also, the problem with it is that it has kind of a weird hitbox, right? Like, this hasn't changed too much. It moves him forward, And then like you're like, okay, at least if he whiffs it, I can punish it, right? Well, like it's kind of weird. Like it has this like a lot of active frames, and if you press your move too soon, you just get clipped. And you're like, okay, if you're really well rehearsed for it, you can walk up and get like a full punish if you time it correctly. So it does have decent recovery. The active frames, it's just like, it's kind of hard to actually stop him from using this in neutral. Because you're also stuck here in proximity guard, right? So like, you can't walk back when it comes out. So I'm stuck there. You saw how like I'm holding back, but I'm kind of stuck in that block animation. So it controls where you can move, and then with punishing it, you're liable to like mess it up. Basically, you can easily see someone using this move poorly and see that my low forward just went right through it. It's like, where is its hurt box? So you can walk up. I'm not very good at it even here. Like you can walk up and get a combo. I think it's like this with Ed. So you can do that, right? But you can see how like it's a little spammy. It's kind of a spammy move, but it was fine, right? Like if you get hit by it, it doesn't do that much damage. Like sure, it's a little spammy, but it's not that big of a deal. However, this is where they went wrong with it. They kept trying to figure out how to make Ed usable, and they kept giving him buff after buff after buff after buff over the years. And eventually, he got this really like super strong set of tools. His normals are all really good, have tons of plus frames. His throw pressure in the corner is some of the best in the game. Like he's left right in your face and can throw you over and over. And he has this weird fireball mechanic where he could do things like this and have plus frames and then throw you again, and he just sits in your grill like this, and he can just loop this pressure. And then if you block it, he can just do stuff like this, like, you know, any kind of block string, and then reset, and then do this again, and then do this, and then this again, and then, you know, he can just keep doing this almost, right? So because if you try to take your turn back, so you do this string, sure, he's -2, but what are you gonna do about that, right?
There's like a space trap there.
Yeah. It's basically an auto space trap, or that. Just like he can just keep mashing it, and your lights will kind of get bopped, right? And then you're like, okay, but it's -2. Like don't do jab there when it's spaced out. Yeah, just flicker to flicker right there will beat your jab. And it's like, okay, try pressing, you know, your mediums that have more range, right? Like that. So, and then they're like, okay, but if he's smart about it, he just mixes up his options. So it's like, okay, so he has this auto space trap thing, and it does chip, and it's hard to whiff punish, and it can anti-air you randomly, and it moves forward like crazy, and then, you know, you can get bodied for trying to, you know, interrupt him, but at least it does no damage. Until the final season. And this is where I feel like they kept trying to make this character good for so long, and then they made this jank move. They kept buffing this jank move over and over and over. And it's a mash move, so people use it indiscriminately of like the situation. And then they gave it this. And this is where I think it all went to hell. So now this move that could clip you from half screen away and just has such a high priority hitbox and will dominate footsies. This is a free hit confirm every single time. And that suddenly this move that went from doing 60 damage, 100 stun, goes into doing 170 damage, 285 stun. It does a fourth of your stun bar out of nowhere and pushes you to the corner. So then now you're in the corner, and then I already told you, you know, how Ed's corner pressure is just like unbelievably strong, right? Just like he has this constant pseudo throw loop setup here, and then you know, he can really, if you try to tech, like this move crush counters, so the move he uses to set up his throws. So if you actually try to tech the throw, like he can hit confirm this into a full combo. So they made the most jank move in the game. They made the character well-rounded finally, but they left the jank in, and they proved it because it gets this, and then you can get pressure from it, and he can keep pushing you to the corner. So Ed went from probably one of the worst characters in the game to easily, I think, top 10, potentially cracking top 5. For me personally, it's unfair in the wrong way. Like it's just, you get too much reward for too little risk and effort, and without having to think about it really, you just do it, and if it hits, there you go, and then you potentially turn around the situation to a winning one for you.
I feel like this type of move, like jank moves in Street Fighter, is this extra pain, because at least in like anime games and stuff, you can move out the way. You know, you could just be like, all right, this move is so like
Right.
just illogical that you could just at least choose to not engage by flying away on your magic carpet or whatever. But in Street
Right.
Fighter, all you can do is like walk back, walk forward, dash, back dash, jump once, like
Yeah, the jump
Jumps
it'll
get
it'll
smoked, right?
it'll anti-air your jumps. You know, it'll hit you out of the air, and it'll you can't walk backwards because of proximity blocks, so you're stuck there. And like I said, if you try to whiff punish it half the time, you're gonna like mess up. It's gonna whiff, or you're gonna press it too early, and you're gonna get hit. There is counterplay,
Yeah.
but it doesn't feel fun to fight against at all.
I mean, for this one, it's specifically about like the movement of the game that I think makes it look so obnoxious. Even though 'cause you said at the beginning, like some of these might not look ridiculous, but in the scope of what you could do in Street Fighter, at least to my understanding, that looks annoying as hell. Like I don't know what to say.
No,
yeah.
Honda. This is like if Honda hands, like, because Honda does have hands for combos and then hands for pressure, right? So this is like if Honda's hands for pressure, also you got a hit confirmable combo extension, right? So Honda was balanced around that. Like they never thought of letting Honda meter extend random hands because that's supposed to just be the wall move, right? And so the ones in combos it's a completely different move. You don't use those in pressure. It's like if they made Honda able to just cancel this and then get knocked down.
Yeah,
in
he'd be
Oki.
crazy.
So yeah, you're trying to play footsies with Ed. You're gonna hold the 1-2-3. So that's just the fact of life with Ed in Street Fighter 5.
Yeah, what's funny is the move that I have next is like this move. Actually, it's the anime version of this move. It does exist.
Let's see it then. Let's see it.
I had to really sit and think, but I'm kind of glad I picked the move that I did because you picked Ed's hands. But the one I'm going with has to be this.
I wanted to call it, but I didn't want to interrupt your
Has to
flow
be.
there. If you said it was like Ed's hands, I was like, it's got to be Beyblade.
Yes. For those people who were lucky enough to not play this version of Dragon Ball FighterZ, this is the best move in the game. This is the single best move in the game for a bunch of reasons. So reason number one. So one is that it beats Ki Blast, which is a big part of this game and a big part of this game's neutral because this is your low commit projectile. This is your high commit projectile. So if you whiff this, you're kind of boned. But if you whiff the Ki Blast, it's not the end of the world, and you can cancel Ki Blast into all sorts of stuff to protect yourself. But it beating Ki Blast, huge deal. Big thing that's really broken about it, number two, is that it beats Super Dash, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but first it looks really dumb. So I'm just gonna get smoked. Okay, it doesn't matter. I could just, yeah, cool, right? Like nice steering, right? So literally does not matter. I will always lose every time, every single time. Doesn't matter what angle. If there are any smashers watching this, you can think of like Brawl MK Tornado. It's like that level of just beats absolutely everything and really hard to finesse. There is a crumb of counterplay with Super Dash where you wait. Am I good enough? Okay, I mean, that's not a punish, right? So it's pretty hard to actually punish that with Super Dash. Possible. It beating Super Dash is so important because, especially in this version, there's not a lot of anti-airs. So one thing that really put me through it in this game is how little anti-airs there are. And they added a bunch over time, like they added Z Broly, they added some tracking assists, they added anti-air assists like GT Goku and stuff. Anytime they add something that anti-airs, people lose their mind. So one of the biggest values of this is that you beat Ki Blast, they can't be Super Dashed at, or else you die, and you can chase somebody in the air. So one of the I'm good at Dragon Ball, look at me movement patterns is literally just this. There's no negative penalty, there's no punishment for running away. Against that, you could just walk them to the corner and just, here I come. Like, what are you gonna do about it? You can't get away from this. And not many characters have air DPs, very uncommon. Air level 3, pretty uncommon in this version. So there's just not really anything to do as far as neutral. He also gets to 50-50 off it. There it is. Yeah. You have air options off it. So if you ever catch anybody, or if they're like, let's say I catch them jumping here. So I'm like, here I come. Here's Yamcha, and then I get to either just do pressure normally, or I could set up an overhead just cause like, right? Like I have the air options.
You can air dash right there, right?
You can air dash, and it has no landing recovery on top of that. From neutral. From snapping you off random stuff, from just making you block whenever, so I can do a whole block string into it. And the final issue is more of a game issue than anything else. So you can't guard cancel it. You can't guard cancel it. It's a mix-up tool that you can't super dash. You can't guard cancel, but you can't zone him also, that he gets 50-50s off everywhere, and there's very, very, very little counterplay. On top of this too, this is season 1, so somebody was lucky enough to not play this version would be like, oh, you can just like guard cancel sparking, but here's my sparking button, right? In this game, you don't have it. So in this game, I'm literally mashing sparking, and it's season 1, so I just have to hold all that. Wait. All of that.
So, as someone who only played season 1, what are you talking about here? What changed? What changed with sparking?
So one of the very, very smart changes they did from season 1 to season 2 is they made it so that you can guard cancel with sparking. So you could be blocking and spark out of blocks to prevent situations like this.
You just press sparking, right? It just cancels block stun and comes out, kind of like X Factor.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know that because I was just holding all this.
Yeah.
I was holding everything.
Back
in my day, we blocked forever until death.
Yeah, we took mix-ups. We took mix-ups back in the day. But yeah, this move is probably the single best attack in this version of the game, I would say. There's stuff that's really close. Like Adult Gohan is right there. I could bitch about him for hours, honestly. But to be fair, it has to be this. This move is so good, it won a world tour. It's that level.
It gets the job done, man. If it controls neutral, has no counterplay, beats all the options, and also sets up the mix for free. What is it not doing?
The only thing it's missing is that's not DP, but I mean, there's probably a secret version of the game where it has that. So I don't know.
I did play the cheap stuff in season 1, but I didn't have that. That high-low mix is what I was missing. That's the level. I was playing Android 16 Cell Vegeta.
Respect. I mean, respect. You had Android 16 and Cell, so you're.
Oh, yeah.
And that's you had a good team. I'm not gonna lie. It's a good team.
I got super lucky. That was just the fan favorites in me. I had no idea, but then when I saw how cheap they were, I was like, thank God, yes. But not Gotenks level. I didn't know. I didn't really understand the power of this because I played a lot against Gotenks, but I was just dying. I never got to the point where I could break down exactly why I was dying.
And it took a little while too, because he's like kind of technical. He has a lot of weird properties on his moves compared to other people. So it wasn't until like around like 8 months in, I think around like August or like September of that year, where people were like, "Yo, Gotenks is broken." Like what?
and this is the Kazunoko team, Gotenks.
Yes.
Gohan. Because I remember mostly Gohan and Yamcha. I remember that combo from Kazunoko's run. I didn't remember the Gotenks too much. I just remember the DP plus assist. Maybe I didn't quite understand what I was seeing when the Gotenks was doing the damage. Because yeah, it seems a little bit more unintuitive. Like, is this move really just beating everything? Why aren't they punishing it? I can see watching it, not really understanding why people aren't trying to attack it. But now, yeah,
he made the swap to Gotenks after Evo, and then our world tour was ruined because he won 4 tournaments, and then we had 4 LCQs in one day. And yeah, that's like, thank you, Kaz. Thank you, Kaz.
I got one more, and this one I did decide to dig in the archives a little bit. This one, yeah, I dug deep into the vaults, which I guess that's also relative. I went all the way back to 2018 with this one. I'll just start off with reminding people of Abigail back in season 3. So the Street Fighter V players know that this guy was a monster. This was an old clip I had like pulled from my Twitter from way back in the day. I was messing with Abigail, so I'll just let this one play, and we can look at the firepower that used to be. So one combo into a V-trigger activation, and some interesting things going on here. Okay, and she's dead. So, yeah.
What?
So for people who don't know about this V-trigger and about Abigail and what he was all about, he's the biggest body in the game. You can tell he dwarfs the other characters. But this V-trigger, this was back when we only had one V-trigger in the game. What it did is it gave him armor on all of his different variations of heavy punch. There's like regular standing heavy punch, crouching heavy punch, forward heavy punch, and back heavy punch. And they basically have multiple hits of armor, and some of them have like unlimited, like crouching fierce punch, and I believe back fierce have like unlimited during a certain range, and then you could maybe hit him right before it activates. If he charges it up to the max, like you can partial release and it won't have this special property, but if you charge it all the way, they're unblockable. So he has these big buttons that are all armored and unblockable. So in this setup I cooked up, you know, he gets like a basic combo conversion, pops V trigger, you know, gets the combo going. That's like using the charged heavy punches here. And then this is a specific knockdown where he does the back heavy punch charging. And if Laura wakes up with anything, there, she's waking up with jab, it doesn't matter. She can't get through. So you're going to armor it. And it you know, it goes into a full combo and she dies. But if she blocks, it still goes into a combo. Now, blocking, depending on your resources, is the best option because the unblockables do scale. So this is showing like, oh, I'm going to try to do something about it. If you do anything about it, you're dead. And most characters in Street Fighter V, especially at this time, didn't have any invincible reversals. Laura, for example, she has a 3-frame jab, and she has an armored move, which is armored on frame 3 of her wake up. So if you time your meaties tight enough, like as they're getting up, you can't armor through it. So same thing with like Balrog, he had an armor on frame 3, but no invincible reversal. They added this mechanic called V-Shift later on, which allows you to, you know, just, it's kind of like an invincible backdash, I would call it. Okay. And that way you can avoid situations like this, right? So meaty unblockable, you could just V-Shift it, and it'll like slow down the screen, you'll teleport through it, and then you can choose to do like a knockdown or do your own action after. But back here, if Laura woke up with her EX reversal, Abigail would have just armored through it and then canceled into this move, which is armored, and blown through her armored reversal. So it would just plow through whatever attack she threw out. She'd had to block and take it. So if she didn't have enough health, she was dead. So dying in 2 combos, that could happen with Abigail. You know, he was just doing ridiculous amounts of damage back then. They severely nerfed the damage and all that. But that's not really what the unfair is. This is kind of setting the ground rules context for why this character was so messed up. I didn't invent this. I observed other Abigail players doing this and was like, what the hell is going on? So I'm doing a little lecture down there
of what I'm going to be covering today, and then we'll talk
my
about
pre-YouTube voice era.
Show you what I'm talking about.
So,
oh my god, the wall bounce.
She's dead. Spoiler.
She's dead?
She's dead.
How much health does she have?
She's
1,000.
She's dead.
1,000 health.
Average?
Which is average. 1,000 health, 1,000 stun. What actually happened here, and this is the unfair part, is that run flip kick right there. So if you manage to land a couple of different setups, this was the easiest one, you would get that crush counter, and then you wanted to have her falling or basically get hit out of the air with this crouching fierce. So during the crumple, at a certain point, they're considered airborne. So this is like hitting her airborne. And then if you crouch fierce into V-trigger activate, you could do this, the towards fierce here, which caused the wall bounce. And then this is a run he has, which he has different enders out of. And then this flip kick is the ender you want to do. For some reason, in this version of the game, this flip kick normally has 2 hits, but because you used up most of your juggles, it only hits once during this flip. And when it hits one time, it causes a hard knockdown. Normally, you would be able to quick rise or back roll or no get up, right? Those are the 3 different tech options on the ground, which change both the timing of when you get up and the spacing, right? Back roll will move you away and you get up 5 frames later than quick rise. But this, no matter what you do as a player, you are stuck in that spot on the floor. And you're stuck on the spot on the floor against a character that has meaty, armored unblockables. So you have no movement options at all. You're stuck here. Abigail has a hard knockdown, consistent timing every single time, and then he just starts charging the meaty, armored, unblockable in your grill. And at this time, there's no V-shift. So, and most characters don't have an EX reversal. Unless you have super, most characters do not have an EX reversal to blow through this. So you just have to hold that. So once again, if you try to challenge with any move, you're dead. You're literally dead from this amount of health. Yes, you could take the unblockable and you would survive if you had enough health to spare, but the unblockable combo still does about 25%. In certain positions, it was just checkmate. Like, it was just the end. Like, that was the end. And I definitely used this. I almost beat Idom in tournament. Like, that was Idom's my demon in tournament. A lot of people's demon, right? Capcom Cup champion. But before he was Capcom Cup champion, I was like, how the hell do I beat this guy? I came like within a round of beating him in tournament because I picked Abigail just for Idom, just to do this for a season. And the other part about this is that flip kick setup, you can set it up in multiple ways. So that was from a crush counter with V-trigger loaded, but also,
and you see the height.
You could also get it with his command grab. So even if you're blocking, he command grabs you. He does the sweep instead after this EX command grab. It throws you off the wall into this sweep, activate. It sets up a very similar situation. They're floating here when you're in V-trigger, and that's where you do the towards fierce, run, flip kick. Oh, hey there. You're dead.
Remember that?
Yeah, and you can also get it from his EX run. I don't know. I showed it somewhere in this video. But the EX run can combo from his parry. So if you're attacking him, he can parry and cancel his parry to the EX run. And then he does a punch, which crumples you. He pops V-trigger, does the same thing. So even if you're defending on defense, he can potentially command grab you into the setup. If you're playing footsies, he can punch you in the face from half screen, crush counter you, and put you in the setup. And if you're attacking him and he parries you on your offense, he can put you in the setup. This run punch also has like a bunch of armor, so it can just blow up your buttons in neutral, or you can do it from a parry. So many ways to get into that, and then you just got to hold that. So yeah, it was super freaking broken. What they did to fix this is they changed. I think they made the second hit of the flip when only that hit connects. They made it no longer a hard knockdown, because normally they get hit by the first hit, and that causes it to have a regular knockdown. So I think in general, when multi-hit moves, or when the later hits whiff, they make usually the first hits like hard knockdowns. That way they don't fall out of moves early and then punish you for it. But that was kind of just like an oversight, I think, from the devs. So they nerfed that about Abigail. They also nerfed the EX command grab range to be like, you have to be point blank. Because before, even if you took the unblockable, he could combo into Oki. And then it was a 50-50 between EX command grab or like a button combo. And that 50-50 would do 60% damage. And when they got rid of the command grab range, basically you could back roll away and he wouldn't be in range to command grab anymore. So they got rid of that 50-50 from the Oki. So this hard knockdown, even if they took the unblockable, which only does like 25%, the follow-up 50-50 would kill you. But yeah, I think they quickly realized their mistakes, and they nerfed a whole litany of Abigail properties after this. Like, he was a monster in Season 3. Even just beyond the technical stuff here, right? Just the basic concept of a armored unblockable with huge buttons, right? He would just clip you randomly and you died. Fun to mess with. It didn't last too much longer after this, and it needed to go, but I abused it while I could.
No, I mean, that thing, the worst thing about unblockables like this is okay, unblockables are not cool. We agree, right? We agree. They're not cool.
I think
it's cool when you find them. It's finding them
very
cool.
Contextual. I think it's like now. I didn't boot up Street Fighter V now, but now the big thing also is there's V shift. So now it's very difficult for this V trigger to work. So when it does work, it's like they have no resources, and then it's a lot more situational. This is not an unblockable like a glitch. Like, he's meant to have the unblockables with the V trigger. So I think now with V shift and all the other things, it's cool because like when it all lines up, it's like, oh, it's a disaster, and disaster has struck, and so it feels more earned and more like, holy crap, I can't believe everything lined up for that, right? So I think it's contextual. I think in the current version of Street Fighter V, which Abigail's just weak in that version, I think it's fine. And when Abigail released, though, it wasn't fine. it was a problem.
Because my big thing is, like, in anime games, you have the typical like puppet character, right? So it's like, oh, like the puppet hits low and the character hits high, right? So while you're a spectator for that, at least it's fast. At least it's like, oh, boom, okay, right? The thing that is pain about this, and I also unfortunately have experienced this, is that he winds up like he's flexing on top of you, letting you know you're about to get unblockable, and you can't do anything. You have to just watch him prepare himself to unblockable you. It's the same thing I didn't like about the Kokonoe black hole, is that you just have to watch the super flash. You have to watch her make the black hole, and she's like, guess what I'm about to do to you? And you're just getting up, and there's not like, it's just like a 5 or 10 seconds of you processing the doom that's coming.
Exactly.
That's what's really painful about watching this.
Right.
Like,
and
it's not even
said,
the kills you have.
It's kind of like a bug, because initially that delay is to let you think for a second to counterplay, right? Like, because you could super him. There's a few armor breaking moves in the game, right? So if you have like a multi-hit EXDP or like teleport, you know what I mean? Like, there's a few moves to counter it. So normally you have to charge it up all the way to let you think for a second about what you want to do. So normally it's better than it being fast, right? If you just tapped it and you died, that would be not good. But in this case, where they didn't intend for him to have a way to get that kind of Oki, that's where it's just like when players started to realize what was going on, they were just like, this is bullshit. Like they're just watching themselves die.
Yeah, that's the biggest pain. This was I always heard that Abigail was cheap, and people were like, he's paying for his sins. That people use that a lot for some characters. They use that for him. They're like, oh, he's paying for his sins. That's why he's bad now. And I'm like, but what did he do? So this was a very, very good.
Yeah, there's a lot more that was messed up about him. Like I said, this is more of a niche situation. But yeah, that V trigger one, the Oki with the EX command grab, the damage he did, the normals, the combo routes, like it all really. There's a ton of stuff that was busted about him in 2.5 when he first released and 3.0 for a while. So 4.0 is when he came into line with the rest of the cast.
This is not planned, by the way, but the last one I have is unblockable too. It's not planned.
Oh,
actually
synced up. we synced up here.
I'm telling you, listen,
Let's go.
None of this is not planned at all. We're in Guilty Gear Exerd. Some people call this the good one. The villain of the day. Wow, he's already there. All right, there's Jonathan. Jonathan Sfondy. We say his whole name every time because you have to put respect on his name. This is the GOAT of the entire game. It's 2 moves working together. So he has this. This move is called Bakusai. So there's a status effect that's placed on me right now. So outside of it being very foggy, if he does Mistfinder after Bakusai, so this is just a normal move, right? Not a big deal. Mm-hmm. But if he does Bakusai first and then does Mistfinder, it will be unblockable. It's fine. It's made to be unblockable, right? So here I'm going to take an unblockable. He applies a move on me and then does Mistfinder. It's unblockable. He has setups into this, but if I hit him and then he does Mistfinder to me, I block it. Mm-hmm. Right? Makes sense. The thing was on me. I hit him. The fog is gone. He does the move. I no unblockable. There's no unblockable. Mm-hmm. Right? Only when the mist is on you. Once upon a time, the devs made a mistake. Luckily, this was not found until maybe the last 2 or 3 weeks of people playing this patch. So what's really important is you have to remember, fog on you, unblockable, yes. You take the fog, hit him, no unblockable, okay? So he's gonna do combo, throw combo, knockdown. He sets up the mist, the burst connects, so there's no fog, unblockable anyway.
So okay? You burst the fog setup, yes. But there's
so
still
the fog is
an invisible fog there?
We don't know why. So the burst hits, which removes the fog, but for some reason or another, for about 3 weeks, because he had his whole version, but people only knew for about 3 weeks to a month. If you get hit with the fog on you, it doesn't matter. He just unblockables you anyway. And then you die.
Are you saying no matter how you get hit?
You can make him block, you could throw him, you could burst him, you could do an overhead, you could shimmy him, you could do 3 lows in a row, and then he'll get up, he'll mash, you block, he does block string Mistfinder, and that's it.
So no matter what, the fog never went away. Just visually, it went away.
Yes.
Wait,
yes.
I don't.
Visually,
wait, how did this? Was this a minor patch? How did this go undiscovered for so long? I'm so people weren't recognizing that unblockables were just happening out of nowhere.
The logic is, if you hit him, the fog goes away. Has been around for so long, for so long that no one ever thought, oh, what if I just happen to use Mistfinder again after I get hit out of the mist?
So Mistfinder is a move that you don't usually use unless you have the unblockable applied, right?
You use it all the time.
Then how did people not coincidentally see that?
Just never happened. And this version of him specifically, his combo conversion ability is really good. So no one would be like, they would do a block string into Mistfinder specifically after you hit them and got rid of the mist. No one really would do something like that.
So that's what I'm saying. So Mistfinder wasn't that common then outside of after you applied the fog, right? So
Mistfinder, you would use it for neutral. You would use it for pressure. So he has the Mistfinder cancel that you could use for pressure. This move, Mistfinder, he can use it to change his frame data. So he could do this. He could do this type of thing, right? So he gets a coin. So now the more he levels up to level 3, the better his Mistfinder gets. So here's level 3. So if I do this, so this is plus 10 with the mist cancel. So I'm canceling Mistfinder off a high blocks on move to make myself crazy plus. Another way would be neutral. So he has anti-air Mistfinder, right? And he has ground vs ground Mistfinder, and it kills projectiles. So there's like a lot of uses for Mistfinder. So it's just like such a specific situation of you did Bakasai and they got rid of it, but you did Mistfinder anyway to them on block, which you would never do.
I guess it must be pretty rare for the condition of hitting him before he unblockables you get the hit in, and then he also used Mistfinder. So I guess that's where the rarity comes in. But I still find it hard to believe that, is there an estimate for how long this existed?
As far as Exert Revelator, the theory is he's had it since he was made. This part I could definitely be wrong in. I think before the first time Omito won, they found it. So if that's the case, he would have had it for more than a year, maybe like close to 2 years. He had it.
Am I wrong in feeling that this would be like week 2 tech in a modern scene?
I don't know. The only thing is that you wouldn't do this. There's just no reason to do this on block ever. There's no reason to do this type of stuff. Personally, and at that time, we were actually using Twitter, so info was moving kind of fast. So I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I do not think so.
I wonder. I feel like this is something that would be figured out so much faster, especially with like if it's like in Strive, like Strive's player base, which I believe is much larger than Exert. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But I don't know.
It's definitely larger.
Yeah, there's a charm to it which I really like, because especially this era of fighting games, like with Marvel 3 especially, and Exert, like. I kind of miss this kind of jank, right? Like I was just the Abigail example, like even though it had to go, I love that it was there. So this one's kind of funny because people didn't find out about it until so late, and then it was just gone.
It was gone.
It barely had an impact, except that was Evo Grand Finals. Is that what you were showing me?
Yeah, so...
But it didn't really have an impact in the overall set, do you think, right? It was just that one random instance?
No, it's just like one specific instance that came up.
And then people are like, wait, what happened, right? Evo Grand Finals, all the eyes on it, everyone's watching. Wait a minute, that didn't look right.
I will say, if there's a reason why it wasn't found quickly, is because this is like, for anime games at least, this is like the last Japan gets the game first, which means like, oh, we're copying them and trying to catch up, as opposed to, oh, let's do and figure out our own stuff. So maybe if we got Johnny at the same time as them, because they definitely got the character first.
But even now, I think we get more tech from Japanese players because of I still think, even though we had Twitter back then, I still think we share tech a lot more now. I think it crosses community lines geographically a lot more now. I see tons of Japanese tech for Street Fighter or whatever all the time.
That's a pretty interesting talk, I think, because Strive is really split up between like Strive is like a lot of NA, EU, and then Japan. Like Japan's like its own, like they play their own characters, they have their own meta, they have different perspectives on a lot of the characters. That was like a huge part of us going out there.
That still exists in Street Fighter, but I guess what I'm saying is the random Twitter clips of engine type tech, you know what I'm saying, like not more like higher concepts of like meta and play style. It's just like, here's something that the engine does that comes all the time. I see it all the time, right? So I don't know.
I will say a random Twitter account posted this. A random Twitter account posted this, by the way. It was a random, just a super random, low-key guy just only played Exer, and he goes, hey, look what I found.
I wanted to do a video about this, but that reminds me so much of the unblockables in Street Fighter 4, because I wanted to have a whole discussion about this. The funniest thing was when people finally started to figure out unblockables in Street Fighter 4 towards the end of like 2012, Arcade Edition version 2012. People were like, wait a minute, like these aren't just ambiguous setups, like I legit can't block them. Then they added delayed wake up in Ultra to try to put a band-aid on it. What the unblockables that people were showing were like, it was like Seth command grab and then walk forward jump roundhouse. And I was like, that's literally what everybody was doing 24/7 from day one. Like it wasn't a new setup. It wasn't any like advanced frame kill to get frame perfect timing. It was just like, yeah, do what you've always been doing, and turns out like everybody just can't block it. It's like, it's not that everybody was guessing wrong. It's just that the engine is busted for years. So that was years of Street Fighter 4 before people really actually figured out that actually you're moving for a frame when you hold the direction, and that thus it makes it effectively unblockable. So that's actually a bigger example. That took 4 years or something like that for people to really like firmly confirm that the basic gameplay we've been doing for years actually results in unblockables.
This might be a LordKnight exclusive, since you mentioned SF4 unblockables, but in 2010 at Seasons Beatings, I won't share who told me this, but I have a very sharp memory of Melty Blood just finished in the bowling alley. Yes, we had the tournament in the bowling alley. You know, it's back in the day. And Street Fighter was going. It was deep. We're like talking like top 16 or so. A person came over to me and he was like, "Pay attention to what this Cammy player is doing, whatever." And I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "That setup, it's unblockable, but you can't tell anybody." I kept my mouth shut. I kept my mouth shut. So that's doing super. That's doing super. So they were definitely saving tech.
Back
So
throw,
people
walk
knew.
forward, withstand medium kick to jump whatever it was. Yeah. Was that K-Brad
Yeah.
unblockabling people back then?
If you could find that 2010 seasons beatings footage and watch like near the end of the tournament and see, because you played the game, I think that's what you started with, right? SF4?
Yes.
So go and look and see, like, because you know unblockable setups, so you'd be able to tell who
Yeah, it was just,
is hiding, who's hiding this stuff.
but yeah, it was just the thing is, it wasn't just hidden. It was just like, people talked about that. You know what I mean? It just wasn't like, things weren't publicized and spread as effectively as it is today. I bet you people still would have tweeted about it or put it on YouTube. It's just like there wasn't this form of like consensus, I think is what was missing. I think stuff was shared, but we didn't have such a consensus forming opinion through or information sharing through Twitter, because like you wouldn't know how to verify sources or whatever. Now it's like it's very easy to form a consensus like, yes, this is legitimate information regarding the fighting game. I think that's the difference, because yeah,
That's a big difference.
I've heard so much shit throughout the years of people describing tech, and also people would say stuff that was also wrong a lot. I had
Yes, yeah.
Street Fighter 4 was my first fighting game. I had so much misinformation throughout the years that I had to start learning how to like filter through. Like I would never trust anything anyone said, because I'd have to like take it with a grain of salt and try to translate it, because people didn't also know how to describe things very well. They would say like, "Oh, it's really good." What does that mean? Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, tell me the properties, because I started learning the engines that time, right? I was trying to understand, like, on an objective level how games worked. And then the people who are good at the games, they were not good at describing that whatsoever. And I'm like, you are not describing this in a way where it's like I can follow a formula, like a mathematical equation, right? Like, I need to understand on that level for me to understand. So back then, I think people would be like, "Oh, this is messed up. This backdoor setup is messed up. What does that mean?"
Yeah,
Like,
that was like the hyper specific. He was like, "That's an unblockable setup." And there are unblockables in this game. And I was like, wow, great game. I was in my Street Fighter 4 hater era. So I was like, wow, great game.
so was it, can I get my hard read on Seasons Beatings?
Yeah, I will tell you off camera who told me.
I mean, I'm looking at the Event Humps results right now. You know, I already limited the suspects. and one of the names is standing out to me as a very possible suspect who would know this.
One guess. If you're right, I'm sorry.
Marlon Pie.
No, actually.
Ooh.
That's a good guess, though. That's a good guess. He could have been doing it, though. I don't have the footage. I just have the name
That
of the
seems
person
like a Marlon
who
Pie
told
thing
me.
to do, to be ahead of the curve and kind of having the dirty tech
Little
before
bit.
everyone else. So,
Little
okay.
bit. A
Okay.
little bit.
I'll have to dig further.
All right, but yeah, no, thanks for coming on, by the way. If you have anything you want to show,
If you enjoyed, my side of this discussion, you can hit up my YouTube channel, Twitch as well, Brian_F on those social medias, also on Twitter. So yeah, but thanks for having me on. This was a super cool discussion. Even though we went a little bit off the script there, I love delving into the history of all this stuff. Like I kind of love that dark history that developers try to patch and put behind them, and us uncovering their dirty secrets. So it's always a good time breaking that down. So thanks for having me.
no, 100%. Thanks for coming on. I'm actually, you're the first person who only did one game, so that's your title. That is your title.
Okay.
Most people have gone all over the place. I always go all over the place. I definitely learned a lot about Street Fighter 5. I'm not really an expert. Only played season 1. And that's it. My Karen and Rashid, that's all I got. So I learned a lot. There's a lot of hearsay about that game too, by the way. So this was just a really good
That's
learning
why
experience for me. So
I like to go into Street Fighter 5 to dispel some misinformation about the game, because it changed a lot since season 1, which was a horrible start. So that's why I tend to focus my efforts on that. But yeah, we'll be doing more Street Fighter 6 very soon.
Thank you so much. Peace out, everybody. We're out. Peace. Nice.
Sweet.